the chair of this. Thank you very much for your recording. Because of the kind of the changes, the first speaker of this afternoon session is Kata Balogh, and the title of her talk is Negation. Yeah, negation and information structure in tree wrapping grammar. And if you're ready, please do start.
Yes, I'm absolutely ready. Thank you very much. Negation and information structures, and you already think, oh my God, how long will this talk take? Well, it will be 20 minutes. I narrowed it down a little bit, but it's a topic we can talk a lot about. Today, I would like to talk examples like that. The plain negation, Sam didn't kiss Joe in Osaka, but if you have a focus on, for example, one of the arguments here, Sam didn't kiss Joe in Osaka, or didn't kiss Joe in Osaka, it has, of course, some different meaning, right? And we all share the intuition, and already long ago, people talk about, so it's not new, but these examples, talked about this, and always somehow captured in terms of wide and narrow scope of the negation, terms are used as sentential negation for 1A and focus, distinguished from focus negation. But if you begin to think, and also if you know linguistic theories and stuff, what is now the scope of negation, and what does this narrow scope of negation means here if you think in terms of logical negation operator? So first of all, in truth conditional terms, these sentences are, so these all three are true under the same circumstances. Right? So somehow that wouldn't really help us if we look there to capture differences. Beaver and Clark, this phenomenon is known, it's talked about, but still it's relatively underrepresented in the linguistic literature. Beaver and Clark capture the differences in different inferences, like in one, for example, 1C comes with the inference Sam kissed Joe somewhere else, as opposed to 1A. And also often talked about these examples in terms of contrast and denial. And what I would like to, what we are working on, of course, this is heavily under construction, this work, so it's very much work in progress. But what is actually the natural language negation target here in these examples? And uniformly. So first of all, the claim I would like to make beyond semantics, negation targets the pragmatic assertion. What that means, it will be clear later. But there's something to do here with information structure and the focus structure, and that's clear, and we all agree upon that. But how to capture that? And how to capture this relation between negation and the focus structure. That is also claimed in theoretical works a lot, that negation is tied to the focus structure of the sentence. The main aim, so these topics and questions we can talk about years, but we have 20 minutes now. Let's narrow down what I would like to talk about today. The main aim for me, I'm looking at this stuff with the eye of someone who is interested in grammar formalisms and the formal grammar modeling. And I have the question, can we capture these types, well, whether they are types or not, uniformly, but these examples. So is there something uniform behind the examples, or we have to analyze them as separate kinds of animals? I would like to make a first proposal towards a two-level model of negation. So a negation that works on one hand side on the semantics, and then you can have your logical operation or whatever semantics you have, and on information structure. And in this talk, I would like to narrow down to the information structure part. And actually, for me, the important question is how to model that, how to come up with a grammatical model that does what I would like it to do. So the theoretical base, I will be here pretty non-standard in all my frameworks, what I'm using. So putting everyone out of the comfort zone on formal semantics and the traditional syntactic analysis. The theoretical base is role and reference grammar. It's a very different way of thinking about linguistic structure and linguistics. This is a theory with a strong typological and theoretical perspective. That's very important. Okay, I don't want to talk about the choices, defend the choices here, but this is something that is applicable to a wide range of languages. And what I like about it, I think this is cool for the phenomena I'm dealing with, is the modular architecture. There's no primacy of syntax. It's not the way that you read of things from the syntactic structure, but there are different kinds of projections. So there is a syntactic representation, semantic representation, there will be information structure representation, and there are well-defined linking between these projections. So some of you maybe can think, hey, LFG, there is some relation, but it's different. And this linking from syntax to semantics and from semantics to syntax in the original theory is affected by discourse pragmatic that is right now in the theoretical work is captured by the focus structure projection, which is based on Lambrecht's theory and view on information structure. So it's a pretty particular way of looking at information structure and putting information structure essentially into pragmatics, so not into semantics. So quickly about Lambrecht. So this is the information structure view I'm playing around with. Lambrecht claims that focusing leads to pragmatic structuring, as opposed to, for example, Krivka, who structures the semantic representation, etc. And information structure reflects essentially the communicative function. So what information is conveyed, how it's transferred between the discourse participants. And the important or the crucial notions I would like to introduce is the pragmatic presupposition and the pragmatic assertion and how that works. So this is the structuring. Pragmatic presupposition is not really surprising what he's doing here. Is the information that is part of the discourse context shared by the participants. Okay, it's also kind of a Stolneke view on common ground in the discourse context. The pragmatic assertion, that's important, that's the newly conveyed information. And what is that? So often said the focus is the new information. So here there's a little switch, a little different thinking. So the newly conveyed information is not the focus or the content of the focus, but it's a relation between the pragmatic presupposition and the information content of whatever the focus is. So that's the information content of the focus domain. Also, a notion that Lambrecht introduces the focus structure. So that's a conventional association of focus readings to certain constructions. What we need here is the distinction between narrow, predicate, and sentence focus constructions. So we want to narrow down our analysis to narrow focus, but try to do uniformly for all kinds of focus structure. What I would like to change or think different from Lambrecht is the notion of pragmatic presupposition. So it's not just information that's part of the discourse context, so it's there, but if you talk about focus, then we also need some underlying issue. So that's always there. So focus targets some issue, and this is related to the underlying QED. And we had already a lot heard about QEDs. So as opposed to Grégoire, I do think that at least for the focus structure, we need QEDs, and they are there. And also, this pragmatic presupposition is not just things that are already known, but also some missing information. It's what Lambrecht and others call open propositions there, some things. I would like to think about them as missing information. Okay, so this was a very short version of the theoretical background. And the implementation or the formalization or the exact formal specification of this grammar is done in the formalism called tree wrapping grammar, which is actually a tree rewriting grammar based on tree adjoining grammar. And syntactic composition, so how it works, modifies trees and combines trees. So we have a certain set of tree templates or elementary trees, and we have two operations. This is for the hardcores who like tag or no tag. There are some who I know that no tag already. So there are two syntactic operations that combines trees. So that's the syntactic side of the story. The semantic representations are given in decompositional frames. In the original theory of RRG, there's also the semantic representation is a decompositional system based on Doughty, Fendler, etc. So formalization using decompositional frames is a pretty straightforward step. So we have a conceptual semantic perspective, so not the logical truth conditional. Meanings are considered mental representations or semantic concepts, which are formally defined as base label type feature structures, often given as graph notations or the AVMs on the right-hand side. So I'm using the AVM notation. And compositionality is captured in a way, so this is similar how the compositional or syntax semantics interface works with tag. Three templates are paired with pieces of semantic information. And then the composition of the semantic composition is done by unification, which is a very nice tool, and we would like to have unification. So happy about that. And the linking of syntax and semantics is done with index features or interface features. That implements the linking. And what's happening? The syntactic operations trigger semantic composition. Okay, how does it look like? This is an elementary structure with a syntactic structure. Okay, just forget that these trees look like what you're used to. That's now not very relevant. And we have the semantic information under. And then you see the index features. Oh, that was too early. Index feature Y, 1 and 2. With values, and what you see here, whatever will be inserted there at the MP node, that will be, so the content of that will be unifying with the right argument slot here. So now you get two MPs combined syntactically, and then the values will unify. So 1 will be X, and 2 will be Y, etc. You can add adjunct in the same way. So this is how the system works. And this is a different way to implement compositionality, but it does implement compositionality. So it is compositional. And then what we get is a derived structure with a syntactic tree and paired with a semantic represent. I also should point there. So if I'm pointing here, you don't see what I'm pointing, but well, I think you can find on the slides, it's pretty clear. And then, okay, this is very cool. There are a lot of phenomena discussed with Kamer and Oswald, etc., on the syntax semantics interface. So we have that. But in the current development, you think, okay, but where is information structure then? How you do that? That is lacking. So this is something that we have to do. And the extension, a formalized version of the information structure projection, it's an ongoing work. And here, the idea is that the basic components are information units. So what are these information units? So these are the information content of certain syntactic domains. So the nucleus, the core arguments, the periphery PPs, that's how Van Velen and Delia Bentley introduced. And the idea is that we have these information units, and the focus domains are sets of information units. Okay, and that will give us the potential focus domain. You can forget that, it's theoretically important, but the actual focus domain is the one that is in other theories referred to as the focus or the focus domain. So we have a set of information units, and intuitively, these are the information units. So these are the ones that correspond to the arguments, to the nucleus, and to the periphery, so the adjunct PP. But what you see, these things you cannot really see from the derived structure. If you go back here, you cannot. Some things you can point to the in the graph, to the nodes, but not everything, right? So how do we get that? And other way around. Sorry, not going back. So the idea is, I have, it's okay. The information units will correspond in tag. You not only have the derived tree, but a very important component, a lot happening there, is the derivation tree. So how you composed your sentence. So that keeps what ingredients you use and how you compose them. So you have the structure for kissed, that one, structure for case. So this is and then the tree for SAM is inserted at node 111. This is with Gorn addresses. You can keep track on what happened, and that's exactly what the derivation tree does. And we have the proposal that actually the information units, what we would like to have, you can read off from the derivation tree. So not on the derived tree, but on the derivation tree. So then the root node and all the daughter nodes of the derivation tree correspond to an information unit. And then exactly you get what you want. So you want to have for the nucleus is just the type and saying that, and there are some unspecified arguments. Again, the other way. Okay, and then the focus domains are sets of these information units, and their information content is again the unification of the elements. So this is again pretty nice. So what's happening then? One example, the object narrow focus, Semke is Joe in Osaka. So then you will have, so we have now three modules. The syntactic representation, the semantic representation, and we will have the information structure representation. And these things here, it's not ad hoc or whatever, but during the derivation, you can derive the information content of the focus domains, what you need. And then the interface features are very important. So they make the link from syntax to semantics, from syntax to information structure, from semantics to information structure. Yeah, and then what we derive is the, let's go background, the pragmatic presupposition, or whatever you want to call. So this is a kind of open proposition. What this says here, or description of some event E, it has the type, the actor is specified, the location is specified, but the undergoer is not specified. It's there, we know that there is an undergoer, it must be an undergoer, but it's unspecified. And what's happening, so we have the focus and the information content of the focus. Yeah. And then here, what is the pragmatic assertion or the newly conveyed information is not the focus, it's not Joe as the new information. I mean, the new information is that whatever you miss here in the pragmatic presupposition is provided by the information content of the focus. So this is what Lambrecht calls identification. I would like to be careful with that term. It's a very loaded term, identification. But this is what's happening, and this is happening uniformly. Actually, also, this is happening with predicate focus. It's just different things that you are missing the information. Okay, for negation, so the proposal is a two-level approach. The negation operates both at the level of the semantics, so some things should be represented in semantic representation. There's something happening. I'm not rejecting that negation is changing the truth conditions or doing something there. So that's still there. But there are important things happening on the side of information structure. So in our conceptual semantics, the semantic effect is actually an effect on the grounding in terms of Jack and Dove. these examples with negation will be conceptualized as non-existing, and that will be same for all focus structures. This is somehow parallel to saying that it's not true, well, if you have logical-based semantics. At the information structure, the negation targets the pragmatic assertion. And what the pragmatic assertion is dependent on your focus structure. So that's like in the narrow focus, it's pretty clear, intuitive. There's the kind of identification. And what is also important, and that's maybe not explicit, but it is, okay, now what's happening now? Oh, now I should stop, but can I have 2 more minutes? Quickly. So negation is pragmatically marked. So you need, so this is always some denial, some correction, some contrast, and it will relate to a proposed update in the common ground. So what you have to see is you cannot just say a negated sentence, right, out of blue. So you need some proposed answer, for example, or at least expected thing like if you say Sam did not kiss Joe in Osaka, then somehow at least it is expected that Sam kissed Joe in Osaka. Okay, and then actually the take-home message is that what we do is that, so with a clever way to deal with the features and interface features, we will have a syntactic representation, same for all focus structures. Semantic representation, again, same for all focus structure, because you want to capture that in certain sense, they are not different, like truths conditionally, or how they are conceptualized, existing or not. And at the information structure projection, the negation will target the relation that I call it spec, but whatever you want to call it. And whatever this relation is, or what's happening with identification, what missing information is filled in, is dependent on what the focus structure was. And that's derived during the whole process of the generation. Okay, so it works for broad focus. There, you also got the slide, so you can look it back. And it also works for non-constituent focus. And that slide I would like to show because it's very important. So this is a choice to do information structure in this way, so that we have the information units as important parts, and they are linked to syntactic domains, but there is no syntactic F marking. And there is no, you don't read of the focus structure from the nodes itself. Still, it is related to the syntax and the semantics. And this is pretty powerful because, as we know, that a lot of focus structures are problematic in traditional syntactic analysis. And in this way, these are not. Okay. Oh, I almost finished my talk. So here the short recap. You just heard what you have to take home message is till here, what we can do. And there are a bunch of things that I still cannot or I don't have an answer for. Well, these are great, but well, remember the things before. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have 7 minutes for Q&A sessions. If you have something to share, please raise your hand, okay?
Ooh.
I have a question about I don't know if I got it like completely right.
It was also very big.
What the implications of the framework you're using are, but so basically, as far as I understand it, there's like syntax and then there's semantics, and in the linking process we figure out information structure. So what would you say when there's a language that needs in the syntax to mark that this is that kind of negation, so that we are not negating the event that happened, but we're negating the constituent in the event, and we need to syntactically mark that right when we make the syntactic structure, like Japanese, for example.
Oh, for example, yeah, I haven't thought of that. In the theoretical work of RG, there are all kinds of tools and possibilities to capture, for example, I'm working on discourse configurational languages, so where the information structure is built into your grammar, and it says this kind of focus, that kind of focus. So there are tools for that. To be honest, I haven't looked at examples like that, so I don't have a direct answer. But I think I predict that the theoretical, I have to look at the theoretical base and then to the implementation. So thank you very much for the suggestion. So this is gonna be one of the first examples and topics I will look into that, and I will come back to you with an actual answer. Now it was just wait and admitting that I haven't thought of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You and gentleman over there.
Gentlemen. Gentlemen.
I have some three, comments, questions. The first is kind of quick confirmations. What you describe about your formalism reminds me very much of minimalist grammars, right?
Yeah, there are
Some.
yeah.
So in a sense, well, I mean, it's not that, but it's, a lot of the things that they're doing, you kind of important, or the other way around, they can import.
Yeah, from the tech community, there are also people who are working with.
Okay, good. So that at least I understood that part. Good. So as to, on kind of a technical, maybe suggestions is the way that you build a special information structure. You know of attribute grammars?
Not really.
Well, it was Knut formalism. It was very old. Well, Knut, who gave the semantics of context-free grammars, and he gave the semantics of context-free grammars in terms of synthesized and inherited attributes. So the information, when you build a tree or you build a derivation, that information can go, well, from bottom up. So it would be synthesized attribute, and also some can go from top to bottom. This is, so inherited attributes. And sometimes, it can be cycles, and then it means that we have to several iterations of the tree. So sometimes you build up and then, propagate it down.
Yeah.
So the way it's kind of, the formalism of why it's nice. So actually there are tools. So you just build it's very modular. So you build the tree like context-free graph. And you say, well, I need the attributes for this, synthesized attribute for this, so it's kind of separately specified. And you can separately add as many attributes as you need, as you happen to need. And then, the system automatically does. So it's all, you don't actually need to do anything. The system does and builds, because your information structure looks like it builds bottom up. So it's actually, to me, it looks like a synthesized attribute. And what he mentioned about complicated negation, where negation, like on a predicate, screws up everything, looks like a synthesized, because information about negation eventually propagates to the root, and the root reflects it back and says, you are in a negated context, you now have to behave differently. What before. So, and as I said, it's not just, the way of thinking about it which helps. Actually, there are tools. Yeah. Very well developed tools, so you can run this, and it would, the system, it will give you the trees and parts or whatever you specify, so you don't actually.
I have looked into that.
But it's also, so he designed it for purely theoretical. It's a way to give the semantics to context-free graphs.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and these formalisms are not.
And smaller kind of, the last about negation, it kind of reminded me how, I treat negation and polynomial event semantics, which I didn't talk yesterday. Yeah. So, to me, negation is that it's not logical negation, because then it actually makes no sense in my framework. It's a set of the count example. So, if John didn't kiss, so it means if actually John kissed Sam, or Sam kissed Joe, that would be a count example. So that, and if you Joe is that you focus on Joe, it means that if such event occurs, then it would be count example. And the negation says, well, these count examples should not occur. So if it occurs, then it means that something is wrong. So it means that kind of fits into your framework, because then you specify exactly what the count example you're expecting, which you would not.
Exactly. So I haven't talked about the alternatives and stuff. This is already a lot. to digest, but they're also there somehow. Well, they are different than what formal semantics do, but that's also related to that and related to the trends and all kinds of. So I will look into that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. This is quickly.
So, when we say, something gets Joe,
Yeah.
then there is, I think there is a, semantic solution that some get tunnel.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, I think that would be easy for you to do, right?
yeah, that's kind of hiddenly there. Yeah. Am I allowed to answer? Quickly. So in the pragmatic presupposition, that's already there.
Mhm.
You see? So
I
so
wonder
it,
if there has, for this information to be connected with tonight.
well, the interface features are so via the so in the whole process we also have the derived tree. So then you know that this too is connected to the Y. I left it now too, but you can also just co-label them. Yeah, and that's they are all connected.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's thank our speaker.